Hello from Lichfield. It's a nice day today. It's a cold day and I'm looking forward to going out for my walk. But I'm here today to talk, I think, about Lent. Now, when the vicar asked me to do these talks, he said, take a theme out of today's readings. Well, true to his word, I looked at the readings this morning and I hid my head in my hands, because we start with a psalm which is terrible, about being smitten by enemies. And then there's a reading from Jeremiah, and if you know anything about Jeremiah, that's not a place to go for a bundle of laughs. And then there's a reading from St. John's Gospel where Jesus is talking to his disciples in a somewhat negative way. So these are all pretty rough readings, and they're not how I feel. But what they do is make me think about this season that we are in now, which is Lent. Now, in our secular world nowadays, Lent isn't something that we tend to adhere to, certainly not in the way that they used to hundreds of years ago. Some people might say, even if they're not Christians, they might say, I'm giving up chocolate for Lent. I always used to give up cigarettes every year until I stopped doing that 10 years ago, because I could stop it and I could start it and I could say I'd achieved something when in fact I hadn't really. So what's this Lent about? Is it just this miserable season that we're going through? And of course, I don't think at the moment you can think about Lent, the so-called miserable season, without thinking about the whole business of COVID and the situation we find ourselves in. We're now at a point in this pandemic where we can allow ourselves to look to a future where the things we've been deprived of are on the horizon. For me, that's socialising generally. It's about seeing my family and my friends. It's about sitting down in conversation, maybe with a glass in my hand. But nonetheless, that's really what I have missed terribly. I haven't missed all the other things. I'm blessed, really. I'm retired. I don't have to worry about the state of my employment or anything like that. But I do miss my family and my friends. So I can see the end of this COVID Lent for me. And I suspect we all can in a way, and we all have hopes and aspirations. But we are still in this dark place looking forward. So what have we learnt? Well, we've learnt the things that we've missed, I suspect. But in the dark times where we've been sat here worrying about whatever it is that we as individuals worry about, we are aware that when we go to those places and we allow ourselves to connect with how we really are, rather than just the emotions of how we feel or how we'd hope it to be, that there are things to learn about ourselves and the world that we live in. Because whilst I wish to go back to being with the people that I love and care for, there are certain things about this pandemic period that I've learnt, both about myself and about this world that I live in. I've learnt that actually it's actually quite a beautiful place. I've learnt that when you slow down, you see things, hear things, smell things that you don't otherwise. This created world is actually quite beautiful. And I don't want, personally, to go back to where I was. I don't want the traffic roaring past on the A34 at the volumes it was before, polluting my environment, although, to be fair, that's probably what will happen. So in this Lenten period, as we can see our resurrection appearing at the end of COVID, I think we should look inwards a bit and make some sort of resolution that we're going to continue to reflect and hopefully learn from ourselves. Well, may God bless you all for the rest of this Lent. And I wish you a happy Easter when we get there and a happy end of COVID when we get there. God bless.